The growing brain is dynamic, driven by genetics and shaped by experiences. From birth to adulthood, the brain quadruples in weight. By age 2, the brain is already 70% of adult weight, and by age 6, 90%. Because an infant is primed for making connections to the world around him, there is a dramatic increase of synapses shortly after birth. By age 2, there are 50% more synapses than there will be during adulthood. However, by age 11, pruning away at unneeded connections begins. Neural pruning is the interplay between nature and nurture, the sculpting of the human brain. Synaptic connections that are infrequently or never activated are eliminated, and those that are used frequently are retained and strengthened. Both genes and experience work together in neural pruning. The saying, use it or lose it, is true, as repeated behavior strengthens connections and neglect leads to elimination. As the brain learns, it imposes restrictions on itself. Humans have an inborn fascination for music. Even though most people in society do not take formal music lessons, they are exposed to music as everyday consumers of TV, movie, radio, and ever-present listening devices such as iPods. Even without formal training, humans have the general ability to effortlessly acquire complex musical knowledge and process musical information quickly and accurately. Musical enculturation is acquired simply through listening experiences in everyday life. In a way, we are all pre-programmed to learn about music. Scientific studies have shown, though, that musical training changes the brain, and the earlier the instruction begins, the greater the changes. Optimal periods are growth phases in which learning may come more easily and quickly. Learning can still occur later on in life, but may be more difficult. Music learning is a prime example of this. Active participation in music lessons has much more of an effect on brain development than does passive listening or simple exposure to music. Music education has a profound effect on brain plasticity, the idea that brain structures are malleable and can change as a result of learning experiences. Neuroplasticity can be influenced by both negative experiences, such as injury, and positive experiences, such as musical learning. Evidence suggests that musicians' brains are models of neuroplasticity. Active participation in music lessons during childhood can induce white matter plasticity. Increases in white matter, known as myelin, the fatty white sheath that coats axons, increases the speed and efficiency of message transmission throughout the brain. Because the largest number of brain regions are activated during childhood practice, even though the total number of hours practiced in childhood is considerably lower than later in life, this illustrates the importance of early practicing for white matter plasticity. There is a widespread view that learning to play a musical instrument in childhood stimulates cognitive development and leads to the enhancement of skills in a variety of extra-musical areas, commonly referred to as transfer. Musical training is more likely to affect those behaviors that are similar, like auditory discrimination, and less likely to affect dissimilar behaviors, for example mathematics. However, there have been some claims that music training has positive effects on the areas of spatial, mathematical, and IQ performance. Musical training affects networks in the brain associated with executive function, the set of mental processes that helps to connect past experience with present action. People use it to perform activities such as planning, organizing, strategizing, paying attention, remembering details, and managing time and space. Improved executive functioning has the potential to enhance learning and performance in many other areas of life. The first 5 years play a critical role in the development of executive function. Consider musical training on the 3 major areas of executive functioning: attention, working memory, and inhibition. Attention is the ability to remain focused on a task. It improves steadily from 7 months to 3.5 years of age, during which time critical brain structures come online, allowing children to maintain focus for longer periods of time. Exposure to music classes in which a child is required to focus on the teacher and the task at hand would most definitely contribute to the development of this skill. Working memory refers to the brain system that provides temporary storage of information necessary for complex cognitive tasks, such as language comprehension, learning, and reasoning. This function emerges in the preschool years and improves throughout childhood. Repeating songs taught by a teacher or watching and repeating movements necessary for playing an instrument all contribute to the development of working memory. Inhibition is the ability to suppress dominant, innate responses and also includes emotional and motor control. This ability dramatically improves during preschool years and also between the ages of 5 and 8, with little improvement during adolescence and adulthood. The critical period for development of inhibition occurs during childhood, when children learn to interact with others in a social context. Turn-taking, sharing, and tactful communication are all aspects of socialization that are demonstrated in a music learning environment. The culmination of these leads to the ability to plan, which is a major outcome of improving executive functioning skills. Planning, a critical skill in life, is the ability to formulate actions in advance, to approach a task in an organized, strategic, and efficient manner. This skill emerges late in childhood and can be seen demonstrated by children tackling the learning of a new song on their instrument. Some question whether the brain changes are a result of musical training or innate structures. To test this, a study was performed by a group of scientists examining 3 groups of children: one that practiced a lot, one that practiced a little, and one that did not take music lessons at all. After 29 months of instrumental music training, differences emerged in the high practicing group with measurable size difference in part of the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum, part of the brain that connects the 2 hemispheres, is of particular interest for musicians who simultaneously engage both hemispheres to process and play music. The study supports the idea that intensive music training, not pre-existing differences, is responsible for the differences in brain structure found in professional adult musicians. There are many other studies that have illustrated the benefits of childhood music education. One study observed 4-year-old children who listened to classical music for 1 hour a day for 6 months. Significant positive changes in brain activity were found in comparison with controls. Likewise, the brain responses of 4-year-old Suzuki-trained students were significantly greater than in children not taking music lessons. Structural brain changes that diverge from typical brain development occur in children who have musical training even for a short period of 15 months. The evidence for training-induced structural brain plasticity support the implementation of long-term musical intervention programs that can facilitate neuroplasticity in children. This has particular relevance to children with developmental disorders. Perhaps one of the greatest effects of musical training is on language acquisition. Music lessons often start in childhood, at a time when language is bursting. Children who start music instruction between the ages of 3 and 5 perform better on language perception tasks. Musical training enables these children to detect pitch variation in music and language better than those who have had no training. By fostering rhythm perception and production through music training, music education may have a very important role for the development of language skills in children. Research has shown that music training directly facilitates perception of speech, which is rhythmic in its execution. It has also been shown that adults who receive music training before the age of 12 have a better memory for spoken words than those who did not. Verbal memory may be positively impacted by childhood music education. As well, syntax processing in language and music rely on overlapping neural resources. Evidence suggests that brain mechanisms underlying syntax processing in music and language are developed earlier and more strongly in children with musical training. Music training through music education programs can foster executive functioning skills, nurture the connection between different parts of the brain, facilitate neuroplasticity, as well as support and enhance language development. The question remains, though, if these positive brain changes persist even after music training stops. Most people do not continue musical studies into adulthood. Studies have found that neural changes as a result of childhood musical training are retained into adulthood. Even a limited period of music education can fundamentally alter the nervous system, and neural changes can persist even after training has ceased. These scientific findings support the funding of formal music education programs. When children engage in musical training, significant brain changes occur, and these changes can positively impact all aspects of a child's life. This in turn may have very positive effects on society as a whole, as these children will grow up into responsible and contributing citizens of the world.